Good afternoon, Miss and everyone. Group 3 was tasked to look at reptiles found in Guyana Zoological Zoo. My group members include myself, Darshini, Danielle, Christiana, and Nahima. In this presentation, we will be looking at what are reptiles and the different types of reptiles. This includes rattlesnake, spectacled caiman, green anaconda, mathematic turtle, and emerald tree boa. And then we will end this presentation with a conclusion and references. To begin, what are reptiles? Reptiles are air-breathing vertebrates covered in special skin made up of scales and bony plates. Unlike birds and mammals, reptiles do not maintain a constant internal body temperature. One of the reptiles that we will be looking at first are rattlesnakes. Now, rattlesnakes have a heavy bodied pit viper with a series of rings on the tail that produce a rattling sound when vibrated as a warning. Their habitats are varied as they can live in plains, desert, and mountains. Snakes are commonly called eastern diamondback rattlesnake or rattlesnakes, and their scientific name is considered to be Curtula cerati. Rattlesnakes are grouped in the class of reptilia. When it comes to modes of locomotion, they can either move via side winding, concertina, or rectilinear. Firstly, with side winding, the snake's body would normally roll along the ground from the neck to the tail, forming a characteristic that is proportional to body length in the sand. Hence, after being lifted off the ground, the front part of the body begins a new track, while the rear part of the body completes the old track. Secondly, we have concertina locomotion, which involves alternatively pulling up the body into bends and then straightening out the body forward from the bend. Lastly, we have rectilinear locomotion, and this is where the belly scales are alternatively lifted slightly from the ground and pulled forward and then pulled downward and then backward. When it comes to reproduction, most rattlesnake species mate during the summer or fall. Female rattlesnakes secrete small amounts of sex pheromones, which leaves a trail that male uses as a guide. Once the female has been located, the male will often spend several days following her around, frequently touching and rubbing her in an attempt to stimulate her. Although many kinds of snakes lay eggs, rattlesnakes give birth to live young. The female produces the ova, that is the eggs, in her ovaries, after which they pass through the body cavity and into her oviducts. Then the ova are arranged in a continuous chain known as the tuba. When it comes to the feeding of the animal, rattlesnakes are considered to be stealthy hunters. They lie in wait for their prey, then strike with their venomous fangs to immobilize it. Once the prey is dead, the rattlesnake will swallow it headfirst. It typically takes them 5 days to digest it all due to the snake digestion process. When it comes to their feeding habitats, rattlesnakes often inhabit grassland and swamps. They mostly prey on salamanders, frogs, and other amphibians small enough to eat. These types of snakes are predators that live in a wide array of habitats. Moving on to the second reptile, which is the spectacled caiman. These are considered to be a crocodilian, which appears in a brownish greenish or yellowish gray in color and has a spectacle-like ridge between its eyes. Spectacled caiman is often referred to as the common caiman or the spectacled caiman, and their scientific name is considered to be Caiman crocodilus. Spectacled caiman originated from the class of reptilia. When it comes to modes of locomotion, they tend to move rapidly when threatened, but is usually immobile, resting on shores or partly in the water. When dealing with reproduction, the mating season takes place between the months of April and August, which is the wet season. Mating is done with both males and females where they copulate with multiple partners. Courtship behavior is often observed during the breeding season when prospective mates can be seen swimming together, foraging, bellowing, touching snots, rubbing backs, and circling around one another. Once a female chooses her mate, she will build a nest in the male's territory. Once copulation takes place, the female caiman usually lays eggs from July to November, although this is dependent on the climatic conditions. The female lays an average clutch size of 20 to 40 eggs. When it comes to the modes of feeding, it is said that caimans chew and swallow their prey by using their sharp teeth and powerful jaws to tear at the flesh. They are also known to store larger prey animals in underwater ladders until the body tissue starts to decay and becomes easier to eat. Spectacle caiman's diet can vary according to the season, but all in all, they eat fish, turtles, frogs, lizards, small birds and mammals, insects, snails, crabs, shrimps, and other crustaceans. Spectacle caimans are usually classified as being predators. Another type of reptile found in Guyana Zoological Zoo is considered to be the green anaconda. Now, the green anaconda is the largest snake in the world. Its solid, heavy body is olive green to brown and patterned with numerous circular black markings scattered along its length. The scales found on this type of snake are smooth and glossy. The scientific name for these types of snakes is considered to be Munectes murinus, while the common name is green anaconda. The green anaconda is mostly found in the class Reptilia. When it comes to modes of locomotion, there are two types. Firstly, we have side winding, and this is where the snake's body would normally roll along the ground from the neck to the tail, where it forms a characteristic that is proportional to body length. Hence, the front part of the body would begin a new track, while the rear part of the body completes the old track. Secondly, we have concertina locomotion, which involves alternately pulling up the body into bends and then straightening out the body. This is used in crawling through tunnels or narrow passages and in climbing. Lastly, we have rectilinear locomotion. This is where the belly scales are alternately lifted slightly from the ground and pulled forward and then backward and then downward. When it comes to reproduction or mating, it is said that up to 12 males can wrap around the same female in an attempt to copulate. This is known as breeding balls, and the group can stay in this position for 2 to 4 weeks. It's like a slow motion wrestling match between the males, all fighting for the opportunity to mate with the female. The strongest and largest male is often the winner. However, the females are physically much larger and stronger and may decide which male she wants. It is said that females does not lay eggs, instead they give birth to live young. After giving birth, the females may lose up to half their weight. Moving on to modes of feeding of the animal, the green anaconda can go for months without a meal. It is capable for hunting on land but prefers to remain in the water where his thick muscular body is easier to maneuver. These types of snake eats a wide variety of prey from small fish, bird, and reptiles to large tapirs and deer. The green anacondas are considered to be predators. I will now hand you over to my other colleague.
I'll be looking at the fourth animal, and it's called the Matamata turtle. The Matamata is a South American turtle with a striking appearance. Its carapace or shell is rough and knobby, and its long neck has skin fringes, bumps, and ridges. The Matamata turtle's large, flat head features a wide mouth and a long, snorkel-like snout. Its scientific name is Chelus fimbriatus, and its common name is, as I said before, Matamata. And this animal belongs to the class Reptilia. Modes of locomotion. The Matamata is an aquatic species, not a semi-aquatic one. They rarely leave their aquatic environments in their native habitat. They rarely bask and spend the most of their time submerged, but females do arrive on land to lay their eggs. The weak-limbed Matamata prefers to dwell near the bottom of the bodies of water in which it lives. They rarely swim and prefer to scavenge the muddy bottom. Reproduction. Male Matamatas mate with multiple females during a single mating season. Males display for females during this period by extending their limbs, lunging their heads towards the females with their mouth gaping and moving the lateral flaps on their heads. Matamatas breed and nest in the upper Amazon from October to December. Females typically lay 12 to 20 fragile, spherical eggs measuring 45 millimeters in diameter per clutch. The incubation period is approximately 200 days. Females depart the nest once the egg is laid, and hatchlings are completely grown when they are born and do not require parental care. Feeding of the animal and what it eats. The Matamata is a carnivorous turtle that primarily feeds on fish and other aquatic creatures such as aquatic worms and insects. Because of its weak jaws, this turtle likes to swallow its prey whole. When foraging for food, this species prefers to remain still. The algae that grows on its shell, as well as its camouflage look, are important to its hunting. Now you may ask if the animal is a predator or a prey. Matamata turtles are predators. In terms of them being prey to other predators, little is known about this. However, their biggest threat are humans that trade for them so that they can add these turtles to their collection and display them. In addition to this, Matamata turtles must be protected from domestic animals like cats and dogs by putting them in an enclosed area when kept as a pet. I'll now hand you over to Christiana.
Good evening, everyone. I will be looking at the fifth and final reptile in our presentation, which is the emerald tree boa. Now, a little about the description. The emerald tree boa is bright emerald, as its name suggests, with green and broken white or yellow stripes with a yellow underside. Now, like all snakes, the emerald tree boa are cold-blooded, meaning that their body temperature is regulated by the environment. Now, the scientific name of this animal is the Corallus caninus, and it belongs to the class Reptilia. Now, as their name suggests, emerald tree boa are a tree-dwelling species, spending most of their time high up in foliage. This means that they prefer to be solitary. However, their strong prehensile tail helps them to move between branches in the tree. Now, in regards to the reproduction of this, the emerald tree boa are ovoviparous, meaning that their eggs hatch internally and they bear live young. They have a gestational period of only 6 to 7 months. Now, the reproduction of this reptile usually occurs when the males are 3 to 4 years old and the females are 4 to 5 years old. They typically give birth to an average of 5 to 12 young at a time, but the offspring can range up to 20. Now, emerald tree boa, they generally reproduce every other year between the months April and July. Now, when it comes to the feeding of the animal, emerald tree boas are carnivores. They usually feed once every 3 weeks, and their diet consists mainly of small mammals, birds, and lizards. They capture their prey with their long, curved teeth. They suffocate them, and they swallow them whole as it is. Now, the question as to whether emerald tree boas are predators or prey, and they are ambush predators. Now, because they are nocturnal, they do most of their hunting at night. And how they do this is that they lie and they wait on a branch above the ground, waiting to strike at any unsuspecting small rodents that walks beneath them. That is it for this reptile, and I'll now hand you over to my next colleague.
To conclude, we would have learned that reptiles are considered to be air-breathing animals that are covered in special skin which is made up of scales. We also learned that 5 reptiles found in Guyana's zoo includes rattlesnake, spectacled caiman, green anaconda, matamata turtle, and emerald tree boa. Each of the animals listed falls under the class of Reptilia and is considered to be a predator. It is said that rattlesnakes and green anaconda have a similar movements. This includes sidewinding, concertina, and rectilinear. Whereas the emerald tree boa is a bit different, they are considered to be solitary. However, the matamata turtle moves very slowly, whereas the spectacled caiman is considered to be immobile. Reproduction is also very different with these animals. For instance, with the spectacled caiman, mating is done with both males and females copulate with multiple partners. For rattlesnakes, the females tend to secrete pheromones, which would serve as a guide for the males. The green anaconda would mate through a process called breeding balls. For the matamata turtle, they would extend their limbs towards the females with their mouths gaping. And for the emerald tree boa, this occurs with when males are 3 to 5 years old and females are 4 to 5 years old. When it comes to feeding habitats, the spectacled caiman eats insects and snails. The rattlesnake eats small crocodiles and a variety of lizards. The green anaconda would eat small fishes and birds. The matamata turtle normally eats worms and insects. And lastly, the emerald tree boa would consume birds and lizards. This is the end of our presentation, and these are our references. Thank you. Any questions?